Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We are sorry for being slightly late this morning. Well, this evening, I should say, because it is 5 Central Time, which means it's evening for pretty much everyone in the U.S. except for the people on the wrong coast. And yes, I do mean the wrong coast. The West Coast is the wrong coast. Point blank, period. Anyways, we are coming at you today with pretty much nothing but Halo. We're going to talk about how Bungie did it right. We're going to talk about how 343 Industries fucked it up and then got it right. And then we're going to talk about how Paramount just loves to fuck everything up. Every property that they've been getting their hands on these days, they are fucking up. To start us off, I'm going to introduce our co-hosts. We are going to go ahead and start with our resident Serbian from the former Soviet state of Serbia, Mali. Say hello, Mali.
Hello.
And then we are going to move to our current resident of the Soviet state of Kanakistan. Please say hello, Dale.
Good day, everyone. And for the record, there is no right coast. Both of them are wrong. East Coast is maybe a bit better, but fuck the East Coast too.
And then from the southern right coast, the southern right coast, we have Stoner. Please say hello, Stoner.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
And at some point, we will have our other resident from the right coast, Stan, on the show, but he is currently muted and doing something else, I believe, with the house. With that said, we are going to go ahead and get to our big thing. We are first going to talk about how Bungie did it right. Now, everyone here has pretty much all played the very first Halo, Halo Combat Evolved. Am I right?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. So, it's an action game. It was the start of an entire lore. They did it right because they had one character, Master Chief, aka John 117, and this man is a fucking beast. Throughout the entire game, you learn about some things that are going to become very relevant throughout the entire lore of Halo. But you learn a few things, and you meet a few people. Let's see, you meet Captain John Keyes.
That was Jacob.
No, it was John.
It was John Keyes. You meet 343 Guilty Spark, which is where 343 Industries kind of got their name, was the AI that ran the Halo installation. And the entire game is just about this two-dimensional character and the effect that they have on everything and everyone around them. This character with no character flaws, there's nothing you can change about them. There's nothing you should change about them.
Right.
You meet your foe, or your major foe, for pretty much the entire lore of Halo, and that's the Flood. You also learn about some big key players in the Halo lore. For instance, the Forerunners. They're the ones that created the Halo installation. And you also meet a good majority of the characters from the Covenant, a group of alien beings that have basically started waging a holy war on the rest of the fucking galaxy.
All right. So, for people who may not know of what Halo is, can you briefly explain just who are the Covenant? Because the Covenant is kind of like the main enemy for the good first 2/3 of Halo, of the first
Yeah,
Halo game.
so the Covenant, they're a religious group that have basically brought several different alien species together. And they have this belief that you're supposed to go on this great journey. And one of their holy artifacts is the Halo installation that appears in Halo 1 or Halo Combat Evolved. And they believe that you can use the Halo installation to destroy your enemies. It is within it contains a super weapon that will further their great journey towards enlightenment.
And are they in their holy war? Are they is it their intent to kill or convert, or is it just their intent just to kill? Like, if the humans decided to join their religion, would they make peace with the humans and then continue their holy war with the humans, or are they just trying to exterminate them?
The fun part about this is you have religious leaders, you have prophets, and you don't know about that in the first movie. In the second, or not the first movie, the first game. In the second game, you actually learn about the three prophets. I don't personally remember what their names are, but I believe it's the prophet of regret, the prophet of truth, and I don't remember the third one.
Me neither. But yeah.
But these are the three religious leaders within the Covenant. Everyone follows them. But just like every other, race in existence, there's rebellions. People don't buy into the religious indoctrination. And so there's uprisings, there's civil wars. It was happening before Earth met the Covenant. That's part of Halo Reach. Their first encounter with the Covenant was on Reach.
So is Halo Reach a prequel to the first three games?
Yes.
Oh.
So a lot of people think that the Spartans were created for a war with the Covenant, but pretty much all of the Spartan 1s, 2s, and 3s were created long before they ever met the Covenant.
And just for people who are unaware of Halo, Master Chief, the main character of the first Halo games, is a Spartan.
Yes,
he's kind of like a super soldier.
He is a Spartan too. So let's get into this. The Operation of Naval Intelligence, Operation of Naval Intelligence, the ONI, is a sect of the UNSC, the United
United Nations Space Command.
Yes, thank you. The ONI developed a program called Spartan. In it, they conducted experiments to turn people into super soldiers. The first set of super soldiers, there's basically only one Spartan left remaining ever, which we meet that Spartan in Halo 2. That was our first introduction to him. Sergeant Major Johnson. The black dude.
Oh.
A fun fact about Sergeant Major Johnson. You remember the movie Aliens?
Yes.
Yeah.
Remember the character Sergeant Apone?
No.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the black guy that was in that movie, Sergeant Apone, that was who Johnson was modeled after.
Gotcha.
I had no idea that Johnson was a Spartan.
Yes, he is the only remaining Spartan 1 soldier.
Is this developed in later games, or was it known in Halo 2?
This information is generally all formed later in the lore outside of the games. So
in like tie-in novels.
It's not even in levels. It's not in the games.
No, I said in tie-in novels.
Yes, tie-in novels.
Right.
So Sergeant Major Johnson is the only remaining Spartan 1 soldier. Then you have the Spartan 2s, and things changed between the Spartan 1 and the Spartan 2 experiments. The ONI initially got approval to take 300 candidates for the Spartan 2s. But the huge thing between the Spartan 1s and the Spartan 2s were the Spartan 2s were all abducted at the age of 6. The ONI created a program throughout the Earth colonies, or the human colonies, where they would give free shots to kids, and then they would run tests to see who would be compatible with the experiments that they were going to run. Early on in the testing phase, before they had even abducted any of these 6-year-olds, the number of candidates that they were allowed to take was split in half. So they could no longer take 300, they could only take 150. And not too long after that, that was also split in half. So instead of 150, you can only take 75. And of those 75, only, I believe, 42 made it throughout the entire thing.
Did the others die?
Yes. As far as I'm aware, the others died. The first candidate that they had identified for the Spartan 2 program was the main character in Halo, Master Chief, a.k.a. John 117. He was the 117th sample that was run and tested. He was the first one identified. Now, with the Spartan 2 program, they abducted these kids at 6 years of age from their families, replaced them with clones with severe genetic defects to make it look like these children were just dying out of nowhere because of a genetic defect, no one thought the wiser. And when they began this Spartan 2 program and took all of these kids, the person in charge of the Spartan program, Dr. Catherine Halsey, she's speaking with the upper echelons of ONI, and ONI is basically saying, well, we think you should lie to these kids as to why they're here. And she very clearly explained, we are not going to lie to these kids. We are going to tell them the truth, tell them why they've been abducted, so on and so forth. Because, you don't want a lie to come back and bite you in the ass if it's ever discovered by the people that you've indoctrinated to be killing machines.
Right.
We've seen what happens in cases like this. MK Ultra kind of backfired.
Yep.
So Master Chief knows that he was abducted at the age of 6. He knows that his parents believe he's dead. And throughout the entire time that he is going through this indoctrination, he's learning how to become a soldier. He's learning to fight. He's learning basic skills. And then at the age of 14, as he's finishing his indoctrination process and he has had the final procedure done on him where they've fused his spinal column with some sort of hardening substance. He wakes up and there are a bunch of ODST, which are basically Marines. They're orbital drop Marines.
Wouldn't they be more like Marine Corps Raiders or Force Recon?
Yeah, Navy SEALs. These people drop in behind enemy lines in these capsules that may just automatically kill you on your way down. The heat shield can fail. The thrusters may not fire. The canopy may not open. You can just be dead on impact. These people are crazy. And they know it. So, when he wakes up, there's like 4 ODST, not officers, but enlisted men. And they start bullying him. And they take it to a fight. And in the fight, since he was the first one to go through the procedure, he doesn't really know his strength. His first punch kills the first person, which kind of terrified him. His second punch caused severe damage to the second person. His third punch also caused severe damage to the third person, and his fourth punch just knocked out the last person in the ring. So in 4 punches, he kind of learned what his strength was. But he killed the first person. It was a complete accident. And this was all at the age of 14. Fast forward, you've got 30 or 40 something Spartan 2s, and they are starting to work on the Spartan 3 program. Now, the Spartan 3 program is a little bit different. And the Spartan 3 program, there's some knowledge of the Covenant. Now, this is where lore and what we knew changes slightly. So, as I was researching the lore, it was all basically that the first encounter with the Covenant was on Reach. It was in the evacuation from Reach that began Halo Combat Evolved. But in other lore surrounding the Halo series, there's some information that basically says we've already encountered the Covenant, and now there are these 6-year-old orphans around all of our colonies that have had encounters with the Covenant that we're going to take and we're going to run them through pretty much the exact same experiments that we ran the Spartan 2s through.
Except the Spartan 3 program, that was more like trying to do a mass production version of the Spartan 2s, more or less.
So instead of fusing the spinal column with a hardening substance, they were given certain medications at the beginning that would take effect and do basically the exact same thing that hardening substance would do, gradually as the bones in your body matured. So instead of, tons and tons of surgeries and being at risk every time and, not knowing if it would be successful, that injection would basically do all of the exact same things that final surgery would do, gradually as you grew. Which was fine.
It was a lot safer.
Yeah, it was a bit safer. The Spartan 2 program was, the cream of the crop, the genetic lottery. The Spartan 3 program, you didn't need the genetic lottery.
Does that mean the Spartan 3s were generally inferior to the Spartan 2s that survived?
No, not at all. Not at all. The Spartan 2s, you find out later in the lore through books that the Spartan 2s basically shared certain genetic markers with the Forerunners. The Spartan 3s don't share those genetic markers. And then finally you have the Spartan 4s, which returns from the past 2 experiments and just runs them all on adult humans.
Are there any differences between the Spartan 2, 3s, and 4s? Really? In like ability or anything? Or is it are they all basically the same?
Physically, they're all basically the same. Now, there is a Spartan 2 that became a Spartan 4. I can't remember her name, but she was on the Pillar of Autumn with Master Chief when they escaped Reach, but she was pretty much brain dead. And she eventually became a Spartan 4.
Did the turning her into a Spartan 4 fix her from being brain dead?
That's how she became a Spartan 4. But the big difference between the 2s and 3s and then the 4s is the 2s and 3s are extremely two-dimensional. They have no lives outside of their work.
Mm.
So their lives are all about the ONI, the UNSC, keeping the human race safe. Whereas the Spartan 4s, a lot of them were prior ODSTs, and these are people that didn't go through the heavy indoctrination that the 2s and 3s went through. These are humans that don't just stuff down their emotions. They have interpersonal relationships. They are much more three-dimensional than the 2s and 3s were.
And around what game do the 4s come into the fray?
That I don't know, because I've only played one.
I think it was the one. I think the Spartan 4s come into play in the one that takes place after the Battle of Earth, where they meet the Forerunners for the first time.
That would be
Halo
either
4.
Yeah, 4. Because
Thanks, C.
that's where you meet the Didact, right?
Yeah, I believe so.
Okay. So now we need to rewind. 100,000 years ago. Give me just a second here.
All right.
Okay, sorry. Loud noises.
No worries.
So 100,000 years ago, the human race was extremely advanced, capable of space travel, interstellar space travel. They colonized half of the galaxy, or a good portion of it. And around this time, the Forerunners had become extremely aware of the expansion of the human race. Now, 1,000,000 years before that, the Forerunners had been told by the precursors, which are transient beings. These are beings that exist on multiple levels of existence. The precursors basically tell the Forerunners, you are not worthy of the mantle, aka the mantle of responsibility. And subsequently, the Forerunners rose up against the precursors, and they decided to murder them. Now, the precursors generally do not care about dying. And the reason they don't care about dying is because they believe that all things contribute to all things are alive, and all things that happen to living beings are part of the experience of all other living beings. So life and death is just another contributing experience. Subsequently, the remains of a few of these precursors turn foul and are eaten up by animals, and those animals mutate and become the Flood. The Flood is the main antagonist of the Halo series. it's a parasite. It spreads exponentially. So the precursors are not only the precursors, they're the flood too. So back to 100,000 years ago, we are now locked in a war with the Forerunners as the human race, and generally speaking, we're not just fighting the Forerunners, we're also fighting the Flood. We're fighting a war on two fronts, and we're beating the crap out of the Forerunners. It is only by sheer coincidence and tactical strategy that we lost our war with the Forerunners. And not too long after we lose the war with the Forerunners begin to encounter the Flood. Now there's
What happens when they lose the war to the Forerunners?
So the Didact captures a few key players in the war, a few key humans.
Is the Didact the leader of the Forerunners?
He is the leader of the warrior sect of the Forerunners. Because the Forerunners are divided into sects. You know, there's knowledge keepers, there's warriors, there's engineers, blah blah blah.
Mm-hmm.
The Didact captures a few key players, a few key humans in the war right after the final battle. And he has a lot of respect for the leader.
Mm-hmm.
Never find out his name. At least I never found out his name. But after he realizes that the humans were fighting a war on two fronts, one side was fighting against the Flood, and then one side was fighting against the Forerunners, he starts turning the humans that he captured into machines. And then the leader, he starts interrogating him, trying to find out all that he can about their experiences with the Flood, and he finally turns the leader into a machine.
Why is he turning them into machines?
Because machines cannot be taken control of by the parasite.
Right. So what happens as a result of the humans losing the war? Like, what are the terms of peace like?
There are no terms of peace. The Didact starts enslaving humanity, turning them into machines, so that he can fight this war with the Flood. But it becomes very clear, very fast, that they can't win a war with the Flood. And so there are two different things that occur. Someone from the engineering sect starts building the Halo devices, and the Didact starts building shield worlds. And the shield worlds eventually are made in a manner that they protect against the wave weapon, or the
trans.
Yeah. I don't remember what type of weapon it is. It is. Oh, the way it works is it basically disintegrates the central nervous system of all living beings within its blast radius.
Right.
Leaving the remains of whatever it killed behind, which is a very eerie thought. so they've created these weapons, and eventually, after everything is said and done, they fire the Halo array to kill off all living beings in the galaxy. Try to starve out the flood. And they go underground. And eventually the flood recedes, and they reseed life throughout the galaxy. Now fast forward back to where we are in the story with Master Chief, the Spartans, the UNSC, and the ONI. And the flood's back because the Forerunners fucked up. They kept samples of the flood.
Is
And now
that
the
what they find on the library in the original Halo? It's the samples?
Yes. Well, it is several of the flood parasites that they find and are subsequently released because of the Covenant trying to find the weapon. If you're trying to get rid of your enemy and get rid of them completely, don't be so obsessed that you're going to keep them around for study when you know that you can't fucking beat them.
All right.
So, this all basically revolves around the precursors and the flood, because they're one and the same. The flood is just mutated, mutated genetics of the precursors, dead precursors. And given that, I'm going to start this video. Now, this video is discussing the newest book that has been released in the Halo lore. It's called Halo Epitaph. In it, it reveals a bunch of the things that we've already gone over, and it also it's given some YouTubers this idea that the whole point of the mantle is to have this cycle of life where they're killed and then the flood comes and kills off everything in the galaxy. That's not the point of the mantle. But we're going to get there. I'm going to play this. We'll discuss every short bit.
Halo Epitaph has just given some additional context to some of the Didact's direct experiences over his expansive lifetime, and the implications of the new emergent lore that comes as a consequence completely uproot all we know about the precursors, the Flood, Forerunners and humanity, and the very nature of both the domain and the mantle of responsibility. And in true fashion, we're going to dive into this deep lore and uncover all the deepest information we can to better understand this new paradigm. Roll the intro.
Okay, so he's saying that there's a bunch of stuff that we come to find out. I'm gonna skip around a little bit, try to find a good place to sit down on.
And given additional context, and a few of them have very significant implications for the He still lusts for the downfall of humanity, for their subjugation and composition to bolster his forces of Promethean war machines, so that he may...
Okay, so as I had mentioned earlier, he's creating these machines out of humans.
protect the mantle of responsibility, gain access to the domain, and begins her reclamation of the mantle of responsibility. Plagued by visions of his past and enraged by Cortana's access of the domain, The Didact, with the help of the Haruspice, manages to gain access to the domain as well. The domain is in a partially downed and damaged state, having been denied the sustenance of new experiences and essence, and arguably one of the most important memories that the Didact was forced to re-experience and relive was his contact with the Gravemind in the burn during the height.
Okay, so the whole reason why the Didact is so fucking deranged when you first encounter him in Halo 4 is because he, instead of him being infected with the parasite by the Gravemind, which is just, you know, the remains of a fucking precursor, the corrupted remains of a precursor, he was instead infected with a logic virus that drove him fucking crazy, which is why he was sealed away in the first place by his wife, the librarian.
What?
Of the four.
So what is the mantle of responsibility?
See, that's the thing. No one knows what the mantle of responsibility is. Now, the Forerunners had their interpretation, and we know what the Forerunners' interpretation was. It was authoritarianism in the keeping, trying to keep all life existing. But we also know that the morals of the precursors were simply that, life comes and goes. It's all an experience for the living universe. Which means death isn't a bad thing. Life isn't a good thing. It's all just an experience for the living universe. I think, and let me see if I can find where he talks about his belief system, or talks about what he believes the mantle is.
Preeminence evolves along desired paths to ensure the feast to come. Life
Okay,
and version.
here's where he's
in
talking
those
about
few
it.
sentences, the true human runners, and that they will visit that upon them with unrelenting dedication. The Gravemind confirmed. We are the Didact, protector of the.
Okay, so this is the portion of the book where they're going over the interaction between the Gravemind and the Didact. And the Gravemind says something to the Didact that has already been said to the Forerunners by the precursors.
The Ecumene. The Didact knew of whom was speaking almost instinctually, the one that he had met on Chatham Hackle. The Gravemind confirmed. We are the same. That one, this one. Others. The Gravemind goes on to confirm that they took the mantle of responsibility away from the Foreigners, and like petulant children, the Foreigners rose up and killed their parents. That all other species that could fall to the flood have yet to know suffering, and that they will visit that upon them with unrelenting dedication. And the most truly telling revelations read as follows. That which we create, we also destroy. Just as you were set to destroy us, that is why we rose against you, the Didact responded. Forerunners, humans, millions of other species from the dawn of time, beyond and before. We create. We delete. It is our nature. It is our right.
Okay, so the Gravemind is telling the Didact, while they're connected to each other, basically that the precursors create and then they delete. It's just the cycle that has continued throughout the eons.
All right.
The Didact replies, "You breathe hypocrisy. And foreigners never see the mantle for what it is, a test merely, and all ultimately fail. Humanity will be tested next, and like you, they will feed and grow fat on preeminence and power, on hubris and righteousness, and when they are at their ripest, the flood will feast once more." In those few sentences, the true reality of whom the flood are and whom the precursors are comes into stark clarity, and confirms the theory brought forward 3 years ago on this very channel.
Okay, he's about to bring forward his theory, and he thinks he's correct, but he's not.
The start of every woman ever.
Yeah. So he's going to postulate that the point of the mantle is to make people rise up against the precursors, which in turn creates the flood and kills off the people that killed off the precursors. Because there's this whole cycle that has been going on for eons. But there are a few key points in that. We took the mantle away from you. And like petulant children, you rose up against us. And that's why we, in turn, rose against you. Anyone getting a Karate Kid vibe from this?
Oh, yes.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Remember Karate Kid 2?
Mm-hmm.
What's the best way to avoid a punch?
What?
Don't get hit.
No, don't be there.
You can't win or lose if you don't play the game.
Bingo. Let's listen to this creator's theory.
The precursors and the flood are the same. They are not different. The flood are not a corrupted version of the precursors. The flood are the other side of the equation. They are the yang to the precursors' yin, the closing of a cycle. The precursors seed life. Life advances and discovers the mantle of responsibility. The mantle feeds that life and allows it to develop and grow, and in the Gravemind's words, become ripe. And then the flood return to feast upon them. In true Lovecraftian horror, the life that has been seeded by the precursors was seeded only for the slaughter. And the mantle of responsibility, far from being the noble protection and stewardship of the galaxy and all life within it, is a tool left by the precursors to ensure that the life that attains preeminence evolves along desired paths, to ensure the feast to come is all the more delectable. And
So he's basically proposing the idea that the precursors seeded life just to destroy it. Because that's just part of their experience, but I don't buy it. The test isn't the flood. The test is how they react, how a race reacts to being told that they're not worthy of the mantle. Throughout the eons... Go ahead.
So is the mantle a physical thing, or is the mantle like a concept or some sort of philosophy about like?
It's a philosophy. It's a concept. So the Forerunners thought that the mantle of responsibility was to protect life and to to do so under their authority. So all races in the galaxy were their responsibility to keep going. They and no one was allowed to rival them or rise against them. Now humanity only rose against them because they were running away from the flood to begin with. Because the Forerunners created the fucking flood.
Right.
By killing off the precursors. But I've taken, my understanding of this lore to be that if you don't rise against the precursors to begin with, you're never going to encounter the flood. So instead of being ruled by hubris and pride and petulant and being like petulant children rising against the creators when they eventually take the mantle away from you, just say, okay, I didn't fucking want it anyways.
All right. But I'm just having a bit of a hard time understanding. Like, if it's a philosophy, how do the precursors take away a philosophy from the Forerunners?
It's a mantle of responsibility. They make you believe that you have the responsibility of something, and these different societies that have been tested have come up pretty much all believing something along the lines that they're supposed to keep life going in the galaxy.
But I mean, they could just, when the precursors say you're not worthy, they could just be like, we disagree, and just ignore. Like, it doesn't seem like they couldn't just continue behaving as if they like. It doesn't seem like they couldn't just ignore what the precursors said and go on doing it.
Yeah. If they just ignored it and continued doing what they were doing and not risen up against the precursors to begin with, none of what's going on in the Halo lore would be going on to begin with. There would be no flood. But that's the entire point, is to see who is going to react and rise up against the precursors. We all already understand that the precursors believe the universe is a living being, occupied by living beings, and life and death is just an experience that contributes to the living universe. If you don't rise up against the precursors, hey, guess what? There's still a valuable experience for the living universe. You're just not sentencing yourself and the rest of the galaxy to death because you're not rising up against these creatures, these transcendent beings. Again, the best way to avoid a punch is to not fucking be there.
Right. But it also seems like assuming that the precursors did not stupidly keep samples of the flood, it seems like they would have not had. Seems like they would have won the fight in the first place.
That wasn't the precursors that kept the flood samples. It was the Forerunners.
Oh yeah, sorry, that's what I mean. If the Forerunners didn't keep the samples of their destroyed enemy, it seems like they would have won. Like
Yeah,
they wouldn't
well,
have
well,
sentenced the galaxy to death. They would have just beaten the precursors.
it's not so much that they would have won, because we had already seen that the flood came from a portion of the galaxy that the Forerunners had no control over to begin with.
Ah.
Um,
And also, it's kind of like the standard issue sci-fi trope: stupid aliens do stupid shit, and then we got to come in behind and clean up after it.
Right.
well, and if you take what the Gravemind was telling the Didact for face value, once the flood was created, it had migrated to other galaxies.
Hmm.
It's going to keep doing this. The flood is going to continue going until someone passes the test.
But I thought the
And
flood had done gotten so corrupted where they just didn't do that kind of stuff anymore. They were just out consuming.
yeah, well, that's what the flood does. Is it consumes, it spreads, and so it in the reason why it's spreading so fast, even though they've only encountered very, very small portions of the flood, is because the flood is coming back from other galaxies. The only way to win at this point is to wipe out life again in the galaxy, reseed it, and not keep fucking samples, and allow the precursors that did escape from being killed by the Forerunners to come back and to test another race. Because wherever the remaining precursors are, I guarantee the flood isn't. So we're going to get to the point in the lore at some point during this where the precursors are going to come back. They're going to give humanity the mantle of responsibility, in air quotes, the mantle of responsibility. And then they're going to take it away. And they're going to see what humanity does.
What? Sure.
Oh. Ooh.
Okay. So that's the lore portion of all of this. All of this spread from what Bungie did in the first first 5 games. You've got Reach, Combat Evolved, 2, 3, and 3 ODST. All of this lore has extended out from those first 5 games. And then 343 Industries took over. Which, coincidentally, 343 Industries takes its namesake from the AI in the first Halo installation that you encounter in Combat Evolved, which is 343 Guilty Spark. Which coincidentally was also one of the best friends of the Didact.
Really?
Yes. When 343 took over, they fucked up 4, from what I understand, in which they tried to turn Master Chief into a 3-dimensional character. And they did the same thing in 5. But in 6, or Halo Infinity, They fixed their fuck up and they stopped trying to turn him into a three-dimensional character. They left him two-dimensional as he's supposed to be. Now, the big one is Paramount. Now, on the set of the Halo show in Paramount are several story writers from 343 Industries. They've already gone through the growing pains so that Paramount doesn't have to. But Paramount isn't paying attention to 343 Industries. And in fact, Paramount decided to get Pablo Schreiber as the actor that plays John 117, aka Master Chief. And anyone who's seen Weeds should recognize this guy. Who's seen Weeds?
I've seen a bit of Weeds, but it was many years ago.
Okay, the second to last season, when Nancy is getting out of jail, her cellmate has a brother. This is the guy. He's a jackass.
In the TV series or in real life?
I don't know if he's a jackass in real life, but basically every character that he becomes is a fucking jackass. So in Weeds, he played a jackass. In the Paramount series, he's a fucking jackass. And he's Master Chief. This man and his agents are so fucking full of themselves that they required that Master Chief's helmet come off. This is one of the main gripes.
That is a cardinal sin.
Agreed.
Yeah, and, you know, Paramount tried to counter with, well, Master Chief takes his helmet off. Yeah, but you never see his fucking face, and it's only after the battle is over.
Here's the thing, though. They treat Master Chief just like how Judge Dredd is treated. He never takes his helmet off where you see his face.
Yeah. But
No,
the whole
forgot.
point with Spartan 2s and Spartan 3s is they're so indoctrinated, they're always in a fucking fight. They never take their fucking armor off during a fucking fight. And even when they're not in a fight, they're not taking their fucking armor off. I mean, you saw the beginning of Halo 2 when Master Chief is getting a fucking award for destroying Installation 04, the first Halo installation in the series. He didn't take off his armor. He definitely didn't take off his helmet. And yet, this man is taking off his helmet at every fucking chance he gets.
Stop.
Apparently, Molly has been playing a game, and it looks very similar to Risk.
No, I'm being annoyed by Nova.
Oh.
I heard that. Molly's in hot water now.
Indeed.
Excuse me. So, Paramount is just absolutely screwing everything up. I have no desire to even watch any of this trailer. This is just ridiculous. And of course they've gotten the chick from Californication to play a character.
Of course.
Let's see. What is her part? Let's go to Halo as Master Chief. What's the cast? Natasha. She's Dr. Catherine Halsey.
I knew it. I knew it. I gotta ask though, not trying to be ugly or nothing, but what color is the new Catherine Halsey?
She's white.
I'm
Surprising.
surprised.
Listen, this actress that they've gotten for Dr. Halsey, she's a good actress. I just don't think the actress is good in this position. I mean, has anyone seen Californication?
No, and
No.
to be honest with you, I don't really care to.
Oh, it's a hilarious show. If you like what's his face from the X-Files?
Talk about the guy that played Mueller.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Um
I gotta.
he's go ahead.
I was just gonna say I don't know his real name, but I do know who you're talking about.
Well, we can find out because that's one of the big things that she was in was Californication. David Duchovny.
Hmm.
If you like David Duchovny in the X-Files, you'll like him as basically the entire comedy of Californication.
What is that show about?
It's about a dude that moved from New York to California with his family, his girlfriend / wife that he was never married to, and his daughter. And his entire life seems to go downhill pretty much as soon as he moves to California. Yes.
He is the epitome of the extreme version of everything I touch is destroyed! Except for it's everything I fuck gets ruined!
Yes. So he
I don't know
goes.
what in the world your wife is smoking, but I wish he'd share.
Everything and then fucks everything up and then sticks his nose in everything and then gets fucked up.
Okay, Coda. So it's basically a story about how his entire life turns to shit. And eventually his girlfriend leaves him, and he starts fucking everything that moves. And he
everything and some things that are not moving.
Yeah, and a few things that aren't moving. And then he tries to get back to. He's consistently trying to get back together with his daughter's mother.
Karen.
Yes, Karen, who is the chick that plays Halsey in the Halo series. It's a fairly good series, and there are a lot of big names in Californication. For instance, there's a character named Lou Ashby. I believe this was the second season of the show.
Mm-hmm.
This character has been in Star Trek, but he made it big in where is it? Battlestar Galactica. He played the character Lee Oben. He was a Cylon. There are other people. For instance, let's take a look. I don't care about him. I don't care about him. Let's see. All cast and crew of Californication. I don't care about Daisy. Atticus Fetch. Lizzie. Jill Robinson. Samurai Apocalypse. Kroll. Pearl. Callie. Megan Good. She is in a lot of things as well. Has been for... she's been in a lot of Tyler Perry movies. Let's keep going. Oh, the guy that plays Hashtag. I just lost it. Hashtag. Brandon T. Jackson. Anyone that has seen Percy Jackson has seen this dude. He was in Tropic Thunder with Robert Downey Jr. Marilyn Manson's been in this, I guess. Oh, yes, in the second to last season. I forgot about that.
Makes sense.
Anyways. Back to Halo. Who else have they gotten in this show? I've got Master Chief, Kai 125, Vanek 134, Soren 066. So a lot of these characters are supposed to be Spartan 2s. Let's see. Yaz 112. So it doesn't look like they go too far out from the normal characters that are generally involved in the games. And Stoner was right. It is Jacob Keyes.
Cue the Razor Fist meme. Fuck you, I was right. Fuck you, I was right. Fuck you, I was right.
So who have they gotten to play Cortana? Jen Taylor.
So, what happened? Why did Cortana suddenly become evil?
She interfaced with the domain.
What is the domain?
So, the domain is basically a digital construct. Think of the Matrix.
Mm-hmm.
And when the Didact started creating these machines and putting human consciousnesses into these machines, there had to be some sort of interface where the minds could go before they were put into the machines. And so you have the domain. The domain encompasses all Forerunner technology. It's all connected. or at least it's all supposed to be connected. And in the domain, there are the consciousnesses of other forerunners, humans that have been I guess what's called compiled.
Mhm.
I can't remember the specific word used in the lore, but
Was it composed?
yes, it was composed. But when she interfaced with the domain, she basically started learning about the Forerunners' belief on the mantle of responsibility, and she started to believe that she understood what the mantle of responsibility was, and so she started basically following the exact same path that the Forerunners had, 100,000 years ago. Authoritarian rule.
Right.
She enlisted as many other AI constructs as she could. So it looks like the chick that plays Cortana in the show also plays Cortana in all of the other Halo games. It also appears that she was in Ruby. As Salem.
Is that a main character from Ruby?
I don't know. I've never watched it. She was Princess Peach in the most recent Super Mario Brothers movie. She is also the voice of Dr. Catherine Halsey in the game. Which makes sense because Cortana is an AI construct taken from the brain of Dr. Catherine Halsey. So she's done a lot of voice acting. She's in a lot of the Mario series. Oh, I guess she was in Blade. A long, long time ago. No, the biggest thing that I've taken issue with is Paramount thinks that they can ignore the people who care the most about these games and the lore of Halo. Because they want to try to bring in people who have never paid attention to Halo. But you can't do that. It was made very clear through the first game. Two-dimensional characters stay two-dimensional. The story is all about the effect that the two-dimensional characters have on the things and people around them. That's how a lot of stories are in games, in shows, in movies. The two-dimensional characters aren't supposed to change. They can be central characters in the story, but they're supposed to be larger than life. They're supposed to be predictable. It's always about the effects that they have on the three-dimensional characters around them. So like Halsey is a three-dimensional character. They could dive so much deeper into her background. There are so many three-dimensional characters in the story. They don't have to turn Master Chief into a relatable character. Hell, they could do it with Sergeant Major Johnson. Go into his background. They haven't really explored much with him in the lore. You want to create new lore? Do it with him. I hear contemplating in Dale's brain.
Yeah, well, I don't, as I said before, I don't possess enough knowledge of Halo beyond Halo 3 to, I don't think I even know who is that woman character you were talking about again?
Dr.
Catherine
Catherine
something?
Halsey.
Yeah. Where does she
Doc-
come from?
Dr. Catherine Halsey is the officer in charge of the Spartan program.
Oh.
She was the one that initially took interest in John when he was first identified. That's why he was the first one to undergo all of the procedures of the Spartan 2 program. She recognized something within him, mostly the fact that he is an extremely average person when it comes to Spartans. He's not the tallest, he's not the fastest, he's not the smartest, he's not the best shot, but he is the most well-rounded Spartan in the Spartan 2 program.
Is she in any of the games? Or is this just from tie-in?
No,
stuff?
she's in several of the games.
Oh.
Let me see. Dr. Catherine Halsey, first appearance, Halo game. So her first appearance was in Halo Reach, the last game created by Bungie. And then her next appearance was in Halo 4. Dr. Catherine Halsey. Well, this is a wealth of information. Let's see. She's the Spartan 2 program, the involvement during the Human Covenant War, personality, her relationships with Jacob Keyes and with Miranda Keyes. Let's see. Yeah, her involvement comes the most after Halo 3. But there had already, from what I understand, there had already been a lot of lore building within the community through the novels where she had made appearances. So the Spartan 2 program. Let's see, Class 1. Subjects conscripted in 2517. There was 005 James, 006 Jai, 008 Lee, 010 Naomi, 011 Leon, 023 Daisy, 025 Robert, 029 Joshua, 030 Vin, 031 Otto, 034 Samuel, 037 Randall, 039 Isaac, 042 Douglas, 043 William, 044 Anton, 047 Kaichi, 051 Kurt, 052 George, 053 Margaret, 058 Linda. Linda, I believe she's the one that was turned into a Spartan 4. Because she was clinically KIA during the Fall of Reach.
Right.
Let's see. And then we get to 117 John, active as of 2558. But you see, all of these other people are assigned to teams.
Mm-hmm.
John, Frederick, and only a few others were not assigned teams. They were just straight up, you know, OFP. Own fucking program. So let's count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44. Okay, so 44 survived, but 3 of them are not named in any documentation in the lore of Halo. All we know about them is 2 of them were confirmed killed in action during the Fall of Reach, and 1 of them was confirmed killed in action during the Harvest campaign. I want to check out Linda. Where is Linda? Linda. Spartan 058. Fall of Reach, Installation 04. Operation First Strike. Battle of Earth. Battle of Onyx. Okay, so she never became a Spartan 4. In the Halo 4 mission, shut down one of the Spartan 4's mentioned spotting for a Spartan 2 on an operation in 2539. He remembers the tag 058 and then claims she was an absolute beast with the sniper. And she's one of the playable characters in the Halo 5 campaign.
There are that's interesting. So she's actually a playable character.
Let's see. Her first appearance was in The Fall of Reach. She was mentioned in Halo the Flood, which I believe is a book. She's in Halo First Strike, Halo Ghosts of Onyx, Halo Reach, mentioned as a loadout.
Right.
Halo Fall of Reach. Go ahead.
So, a bit off topic for this, but still Halo related. Whatever happened to the Covenant in like later games? Because it seems I was just doing a bit of reading of some of what the later games are about, and they don't seem like they play much of a factor as they did early on.
In Halo 2, you meet the Arbiter.
Right.
He was the elite in charge of the fleet that led the first assault on. Well, he led the assault on Reach.
Mm-hmm.
And he was supposed to wipe them out. And then he had to chase them through slip space to Halo Installation 04 in Combat Evolved. And he was punished at the beginning of 2 for failing in his mission to protect Halo.
Mm-hmm.
And he was sentenced to death, but he was turned into the Arbiter. Now, it's basically understood that all Arbiters die in carrying out their duty.
What was the duty of an Arbiter?
An Arbiter is basically, the enforcer. He's the person that's supposed to put down insurrections.
Because it was either 2 or 3. Wasn't he going around assassinating all the prophets?
That I believe that's at the end of 2 and all of 3.
All right.
Because in 2, both him and Master Chief come in front of the Gravemind.
Mm-hmm.
And they're both told about the Halo devices and what they're supposed to do, and the Gravemind has control of Installation 05's AI. So he transports both Master Chief and the Arbiter to different portions of that Halo device.
Mm-hmm.
And the Arbiter basically realizes he's fighting for the wrong fucking people.
Yeah. Why would the Gravemind relay to both Master Chief and the Arbiter that he has control of a Halo device's AI?
Oh, well, it's not that he relays to them that he has control of it, but he quite literally has physical control of the AI machine.
Oh.
So in Halo Combat Evolved, that fucking orb fucker, 343 Guilty Spark, the one that leads you through the installation to get the key that you have to insert in the control room to fire the Halo. That's every Halo installation has one of those. Not specifically Guilty Spark, but an AI that is very similar. And in the cutscene that you see in 2, the Gravemind quite literally has its tentacles controlling that fucking AI machine.
Right.
And so he has control of the Halo device, or at least all things that the AI can control, to include teleportation.
And does the are the Gravemind and Master Chief slash Arbiter working together with the Gravemind at this point?
No,
Like-
the Gravemind uh, has its own ulterior motive.
Right.
It's not really working with anyone. It's just doing what it can to control others. But you were mentioning how the Covenant isn't really in any later games, and that's because the Arbiter kills off the remaining prophets, and the war with humans has basically come to an end. But in ending the war with the humans, there are several sects of the Covenant that split off and, start warring with the rest of the fucking galaxy.
Right. So, what exactly is the Gravemind? Is it like just the kind of like the leader of the Flood, or the one who controls the hive mind of the Flood?
Yeah, well, that's kind of how the Gravemind is the leader of the hive mind, kind of like a Borg queen. But from my understanding in the lore, the Gravemind is more often than not the remains of a precursor that didn't completely disintegrate. Because so at the end of the video that we watched, that proposed the whole idea that this is a cycle that's supposed to continue, where life is created and the Flood destroys it. That was the interaction that the Didact had with the Gravemind, but that Gravemind that he was interacting with was previously a precursor that he had already had contact with. And the Gravemind confirmed to the Didact that they were one and the same. They were the same being.
Right.
Okay. And then we've got the Mjolnir armor. Okay, so there's Gen 1s and Gen 2s. Wow, that is very in-depth. That's part of the lore that I'm going to have to do more research on. The Mjolnir armor. Because most of what I understand from the lore is not only was Halsey, Dr. Halsey, involved in the creation of the Spartans, she was also involved in the creation of the Mjolnir armor, as well as several AIs, to include Cortana. And yeah, that looks to be about everything. I mean, unless you have any more questions.
I'm. So, what happens to the didact in the end? Like, is he still alive, or was he killed? Is he?
That is not a portion of the lore that I am at all informed on. But
fair enough.
we could research that.
Yeah. It seems that Epitaph seems to be mostly about him. And I tried looking it up, but it seems Halopedia hasn't produced a summary yet of the actual plot of Epitaph. I mean, it has like a summary like what you read on the back of the book, but it doesn't actually go into how it ends or anything.
Did the Didact die in the end of Halo 4? Let's see. The Didact did not die. He was teleported to Composer's Abyss, where John and Blue Team tracked him down. The fight issues between Blue Team and Didact. A Monitor 859 static Carillon also helps John by teleporting both them and the Didact to Installation 03's control center, where John and 859 static Carillon drop part of the ring into the Composer Forge. John gets teleported out by 859, and Didact is disintegrated by the Composers below. However, John says that Didact is not dead, just contained. Okay, so he's not dead. He was composed. Which I believe is where Halo Epitaph comes in.
Right.
He is now in the domain, and he's reliving all of these experiences that he had gone through throughout his corporeal life. That would make sense. That would make a lot of sense when it comes to this book. Which I still need to read. I need to buy it and read it. But we do know for certain that Cortana is gone. Or at least the original Cortana.
So she was killed, or I guess whatever however you can kill an AI. Like, maybe
Yeah,
not kill,
so
delete it or...
she's dead. The weapon even took Cortana's name for herself at the ending to Halo Infinite. The whole game was about Cortana apologizing for her crimes, her betrayal of Master Chief, and humanity in general, and trying to make amends in the final moments before her death. It's impossible to miss this. So now the story is going to shift to the other characters that were in Halo Infinite. There was a main one. It wasn't the weapon. Halo Infinite characters. I can't. I never played it, so I believe the Harbinger. The Harbinger. That's who we're looking at. Yes, the Harbinger. The Endless. The Endless are some form of race that we don't know exactly what they are. There have been theories basically speculating that that they are a subspecies of the Forerunners. There have been theories that there are a subspecies of the Precursors. But this character, the Harbinger, or at least their species, is going to be one of the main antagonists of any game we get in the future. Okay. I think that's enough of the lore for tonight. I want to run through and see if there was any video that I wanted to play before we jump off. Oh, yes. Yes, there was. Okay, so car crashes. I need to get to the correct... get to the correct timestamp. 5804.
Take exit 30, then keep left.
Okay, so crazy night coming home from family dinner. Noticed a car was following real up close to my car, then started flashing his lights. So I tried to drive away from the man, then he started chasing me. Don't know what was really going on, so I decided to pull over to see what he wanted. Exit ramp. Stop. Watch what happens.
What the f, Steve? Record this shit, man. What is this? Call 911, hurry up.
Gets out with a
¿Qué te
fucking
pasa?
stick.
¿Qué te pasa, güey? No te pegué nada. Estoy con mi esposa yendo para la casa. ¿Por qué estás así? No te dicen nada. No te peguen.
He crashes into my car and jumps out with a machete. Don't know what his intentions were, but he said he's been chasing a car that kidnapped his wife and kids and confused my car for the other car that he was chasing. Okay, listen, I don't care who you are. You jump out of your car after crashing into mine with a weapon. I'm not jumping out of my car just for shits and grins. I'm putting you down. Point blank, period. That's ridiculous.
Very much so.
Pero ¿por qué a mí, güey? Me equivoqué, papá, disculpa. Pero ahora voy a tener que hablar. No, come on, man. Me chingaste mi carro, man.
Hmm.
It's on my phone.
Okay.
It's on the thing.
Okay.
I can't call. Your phone is me.
Okay. Yeah,
That was the one video that I had picked out at the beginning of the week. Like, that is quite literally... I picked that out Monday at 3:38 in the morning.
Understandable. Yeah, just another reason why you should just another reason to carry a gun. Drugged out psychos with machetes.
The only problem with that, my question for that one is, did they know he was on drugs, or did they find out afterwards that he was on drugs?
I don't think it says anything about him being on drugs.
this shit, man.
Yeah, it
It
does.
said-
But,
¿Qué es this?
One of the
Pero ¿por qué a mí,
the
güey?
text mentioned.
yes, the
Pero
next
ahora
one
voy a
right
tener que
after
hablar.
this.
Come on, man.
Yeah.
Me chingaste mi carro, man.
There it is.
Dude was spun out on drugs. Thank God he realized I was the wrong guy and backed off, but still, why crash my car? But everyone was safe. Unfortunately, the cops were involved due to assault with a deadly weapon. Okay.
Oh,
So,
God.
I mean, they might have realized that he was on drugs, but...
The thing is, like, wouldn't your first thought would be call the cops?
Well,
least that-
at the point that the dude gets out of the car with a fucking machete, no, my first thought is to try to
Neutralize
escape
the threat.
No,
well,
no, no.
either-
I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the guy who got out of his car said that he was following a vehicle that he thought was the vehicle that kidnapped his wife and kid or
and
whatever.
kids.
My thing is, like, my first thought, call the cops, say, hey, if you don't try and get this guy, I'm going after him. That gives you a much faster police response than just
Well-
calling them and said, hey, my wife and kid got kidnapped.
Yeah, see, if I was in that position where I saw my wife and kid get kidnapped, you best be sure that I'm hot on the tail of the person that I believe have taken them. But yes, I'm also on the phone with the police, saying, hey, I'm following someone who kidnapped my wife and kids.
Yeah.
But
Now,
from the
the-
angle of the person that he chased down and crashed into, no.
no.
My first thought is not call the police. My first thought is either escape or put down the threat.
Yeah, that's the thing that I don't understand is why would you just stop? I'm guessing the person in front of the vehicle is the person that was in the passenger seat. Because I didn't see them get out of the car in front that crashed into them. You don't just stop there and wait for the guy to get out of his car. No, you back the hell up and then drive around.
Well, and let's check to see did she get out
I'm guessing, at least from what it's looked
before
like.
he backed up? I'm trying to see if she got out before he backed up or after he backed up. Because wanting to see what's going on would generally be my first inclination.
Record this shit, man. What is this? Call 911, hurry up.
See? I'm guessing that's calling the pet.
Okay.
Yeah, see?
They got out after he backed up.
Why would you just get out to film, like, when he has a machete? Like, what's the thought process in that?
I don't know.
Like, you don't just get out of a car when someone just plowed right into you.
But, you know, we have already, in this year, gone over at least one video. The one in Indiana, outside of Indianapolis, or just the outer circle of Indianapolis, where these people just watched a fucking shootout for several seconds before they reacted and said, "Oh shit, I'm in danger. I'm in danger."
Yes, but I didn't see the video, but at least the thought process is you don't just sit there.
No, you don't. You react, but people don't fucking react.
Like, my experience with this, at least in where there have been bullets exchanged, I've driven through Southeast DC before because I have some friends there. If anyone knows about Southeast DC, it's dangerous for anyone who is white. White men don't go there. And I've been there a few times only because I've had friends in the vehicle that live there with me, or I drove them there because they live there. And I was about to take a right from a stop sign, and I just saw a bullet whiz past my front windshield and almost hit another guy on a street corner or whatever. My first instinct, screw him, screw the guy who's shooting at, screw the stop sign, I'm getting my ass out of here.
Yeah,
and I floored my truck.
Blow the stop sign, you know, just get the fuck out of there. If you have a valid escape, fucking get the fuck out of there.
Yeah. And I didn't. I'm surprised I didn't get stopped. Because I was going about 50 through these streets in Southeast just to get away from these fuckers. And sorry, I'm trying really hard not to curse.
Don't.
I was trying to get away from these guys as fast as possible. The second I got like three blocks away or something, I finally slowed down, got right into the highway, and went home. So the fight or flight response.
With that, we are now 2 minutes over our limit, and we've gone over pretty much everything important. Simple fact of the matter is, don't be a fucking dumbass like these people, because this sort of stupidity is the exact same of stupidity coming out of Paramount.
Yes.
With that said, we will say goodnight. We will start with our northern right coaster, Stan. Please say goodnight, Stan.
I'm technically central, but yes. Good night, everyone, and don't be stupid.
Listen, Virginia is on the coast. It's on the right coast. So, yeah. You don't have to live on the coast. You just have to live in the state that's on the coast.
And don't remind me.
And then we will go to our southern right coaster. Please say good night, Stoner.
Good night.
And then we will say good night to our resident of the former Soviet state of Serbia. Please say good night, Molly.
Good night, night.
And then our co-host, the one and only Dale from the current Soviet state of Kanukistan. Please say goodnight, Dale.
Good night, everyone.
And with that, we are going to play our music. And I bid you all farewell. We will see you again in 2 weeks. Good night.